Patrick, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
So, back to the introduction, I wanted to start with the origin story for Bungie, at least as you're able to explain it to our audience, some of whom may not know Bungie or have understood exactly what the evolution of the company has been over time. So, for our audience, tell us who Bungie is and what you're building these days.
Well, interestingly, a lot of people still think of video games as a new thing, but Bungie's been around for 30 years. This is actually our 30th anniversary this year. Bungie started off as a small, like a lot of video game companies, a small group of guys in Chicago. They did a few very successful games on Apple computers, and then and actually the game Halo, which is one of the games we're most famous for, made its debut, Steve Jobs announcing it on an Apple stage. Shortly after that, Bungie was acquired by Microsoft, and the company moved out here to the Pacific Northwest. So then the other odd piece of this story is after Halo came out and became an international phenomena, Bungie actually spun out and became an independent company again. And we, since becoming independent, created the game franchise Destiny. And so that's been a big focus. But now we're charting a new course. So we're starting to explore some new directions, new games, as well as continuing to build out the Destiny franchise.
So downtown Bellevue, Patrick, has, I think, really presented itself as a home for great talent and for some of the world's preeminent game development companies, including Bungie. What are your aspirations for the industry at the local level? And where do you see the industry headed over the next few years?
Well, it's a surprising thing here, what a big video game community there is. We've got Valve just down the street. I have good friends there. Of course, we've got Microsoft, got people with Nintendo. A number of my closest friends are tied into the game industry in the surrounding area. Literally, I think we've got in the hundreds of game companies, big and small, working around here. So, for us, it's just a great resource, to have a community of people doing this, pursuing the same craft. People who you can collaborate with, and we do. I mean, we're competitors, but we also we share our art, we share our craft, we share, we work together on platforms, we have partnerships. That's a wonderful aspect of being here versus isolated in some other city, being part of this community.
So the talent at Bungie, your colleagues, give me a sense of the range of types of jobs that people fill at Bungie. I know producing a video game is multifaceted. It takes people with all levels of expertise and depth of understanding of what goes into a video game. So give us a sense of the type of people and the skills they bring to the job.
It's a great question, and I've given talks at schools. I've gone to high schools and talk about it for career day. And one of the questions I ask is, well, what do you think is the best field to study in college if you want to go into the game industry? And of course, everyone always says engineering. Oh, you need to be an engineer. And I love getting that going because I can then turn around and say, do you realize that at Bungie, we have painters on our staff. We have musicians. We have audio engineers. We have, of course, engineers, but we have designers, where I like to say, the most important skill that you have is, probably if you've ever been a dungeon master and designed, a D&D campaign. We have, people who are animators, people who've worked at companies like Pixar who come work with us. And then, my experience was in production, which is a field very similar to film production in many ways, where you're working with coordinating the schedules and planning and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really, really diverse field, video game industry to be in. And I think it creates enormous opportunities for a city like Bellevue to have a vibrant game community means you have a vibrant and very diverse workforce, right, with all these different disciplines there.
So, for example, if a middle schooler
Yeah.
is talking with you or doing an informational interview about how do I work at Bungie someday, and you were to share with that student, okay, maybe there isn't a typical path, but how would you characterize the education and the training one gets? You mentioned engineering, but really, is our educational system,
Mhm.
do curricula prepare people sufficiently, or is it really on the job training for getting into the industry?
It's a mix of both, certainly, and there are more and more schools that are focusing on developing for a video game career in all of those different disciplines that I was just describing. I do say to folks, for the middle schooler who asked me, uh, do what you love first. Don't try to put yourself into an engineering field because you think that's how to get into video games. Find the thing that you love to do, and then find the path for that in the game industry. So if you're an artist, make art and learn how to do great art, and maybe you want to learn animation if that's the path you want to go, if you want to see things in motion. But that's a great trajectory. But for Bungie, yes, it's actually one of the things that we're really keen on is how we can work with the local community. And in fact, our CEO talked to Governor Inslee, met with him a couple of year or two ago about pre-pandemic, about one of the things we'd love to see is an investment in education in the game industry here. We have a strong strong number of programs promoting STEM and technology, but given the vibrant game industry that we have here, it seems like this is the next frontier, and other parts of the country are getting there. So we'd love to see that and tap into that.
So right now, you're obviously at home because of the pandemic, but I think there's also another reason. Bungie's in the midst of a fairly significant build out. At least I believe it started. I walked down there the other day on 106 there at the Bellevue Connection and Compass Plaza, and it's fenced in, and it looks like there's a lot of work going on. So help us understand a little more about the work that's happening for the Bungie workspace right now, and what your team can expect when it's all done.
It's been a really exciting project, and yeah, in some ways the time is a good one to be doing work on a HQ project. Although the project is going to be overlapping, hopefully, the time when we're all be able to go back to the office. So this was something we contemplated well before the pandemic, and that's because we're growing. We're starting some new things. We have new projects in development, and so we're preparing for that future. And we're also consolidating into one headquarters. We've had people in multiple buildings in downtown Bellevue, but we saw this opportunity to really grow and consolidate. Our focus is really around creating a one Bungie home for everyone to be there together. The kind of work we do is intensely collaborative. And we've learned during the pandemic that there are a bunch of things that we can do really well working from home. I think we adapted pretty quickly. We were able to ship a major release in the Destiny franchise last year. But we also know that there are things that we can't do as well remotely. So we certainly have had a lot of discussion about what the future of work looks like and how that headquarters needs to be positioned to support that. And it's definitely changed our thinking from where we were maybe a year ago. But at the same time, we really see it's essential for us to have that creative hub in Bellevue. And we looked at other locations for that, but it became very clear for us when we looked at where our workforce was. Key for us was being in a place where we see our hub. People gather, do their work, but can go out and have lunch. They can go for a walk. It's part of our culture at Bungie that during the nice weather, for one-on-one, managers and their staff go and walk around the park in Bellevue, or go get lunch together. And so, being in a city like Bellevue that was a place with restaurants and places to go shopping and places to go walking and so on is really, really, really key for us. So yeah, we're excited about this HQ and meeting the needs of that future of work where we have a collaborative home for our people.
Yeah, and if we could look down look at the future in a few months, and someone was to come into your office space and maybe they weren't familiar with what a game development studio at your scale looks like, what are some of the key aspects of a workspace that you mentioned, the diversity of talent that goes into producing a game? What are some of the key features of the workspace that make it unique?
Well, of course, we have a lot of specialized spaces. Most workplaces don't have a streaming studio for streaming on Twitch or YouTube, and we have a motion capture space where we can do film, prepare animations for our game. We have a number of audio recording facilities, those kinds of things. We use a lot of power. We have a lot, a lot of computers. We have development kits for the different console platforms we ship on. And another unique feature is playtesting labs. I know this is every kid's dream when they imagine going to work for a video game company, is that I get to play games all day. And in fact, for people who are involved in the design of our games, it's really important. Like, a big part of the process is iteration. So the core of our new facility, in fact, is really centered on that vibrant culture of playtesting. And so, the gathering spaces in the core of the building, feature a number of these labs, as well as labs for outsiders to come into when we do playtesting with external people. So those are the unique things, just in terms of core functional elements. And then on top of that, we're organized around small teams. And so that's a lot of the work in the new design of our building, is to really optimize for 20 to 30 person teams, kind of areas where they can collaborate, have their own conference spaces and breakout spaces that they can work together. And so imagine the floor is kind of a hub of playtest labs and areas to get food and restrooms, stuff like that, with a hub around that hub, all the different teams gathered.
So you mentioned the importance of being, at least the value of being in downtown Bellevue, surrounded by this talent, I think, and being able to connect the company to your surroundings and the environment. What are some things that come to mind, or that you hear from your colleagues about what they'd like to see, or how they could even better connect with downtown Bellevue around them? What do you feel are a few top values for them, and what they'd like to see?
Well, I think first and foremost, just the basics of, food, clothing, and shelter, right? So we provide the shelter, but I think, people love to go get food. They love to, explore new restaurants. You can see, one of the things, part of Bungie's culture is the first year you're on the job, you can have a free lunch on Bungie with every other employee in the company. And so it's a program we created to bring people into our culture and meet each other. And so it's actually really important for people to have new restaurants to go to. And when they pop up, you see the new employees immediately start to get all their lunch appointments, and trying out the new places. And then, for the clothing and all the other things like that, shopping, good, I think people like that you can be in Bellevue and go stop and get, holiday presents or birthday gifts, or get a new pair of jeans, all those kinds of things, that you can just take care of that. And we have a number of employees who have bought apartments and live within walking distance of the building, so that they can live that life. And of course, with the light rail coming, that's huge. We're just down from the station there. I'm a person who takes the bus pretty regularly when there's bus taking,
right.
Again. And I look forward to taking the light rail. There's a light rail station that's being developed just down a few blocks from my house. So the transit is key for us too. And overall, we're looking forward to Bellevue becoming a greener and greener city, and providing all the support infrastructure for that. It's something our employees are really keen on. Participating and getting to be a green company in a green city.
Yeah. So before we sign off, what else would you like to share with our audience about Bungie, about the future, about your hopes for the company's evolution and connection to the community?
Well, I'm glad you brought up that last thing, because we really do have a strong connection to the community. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we forged a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club in Bellevue, and our CEO has a deep connection to Bellevue. And our Bungie Foundation is a key part of who we are. And so that's something we're continuously looking for ways to partner with the community to support those and who we feel like we've been very fortunate that we've been able all to continue to work while this COVID-19 pandemic hit the world. Anything that we can do and have that opportunity to connect to a city to benefit those who maybe aren't as well off, we appreciate that. So we like to be part of this community and want to continue to invest in it.
Well, Patrick, on behalf of the BDA, we're excited Bungie's here and continues to be foundational in the here and now, and then also in the future of downtown Bellevue. So thank you for joining us today.
No, it's my pleasure.